Alright, Algebra Concepts, quiz number 3, day 15. Final quiz for Unit 7. Alright, so it's multiple choice. Solve the equation using the zero product property. What is the zero product property? Well, zero product property just means that 0 times anything is always going to give you 0. Okay? So, for example, if I give you, 5 minus x times something like y equals 0, all right, well, give me the value for which that's true. Well, all I need to do is make 5 minus x 0. What do I need to get that to give me 0? Because when it's multiplied there, it's going to give me 0 in my answer. And so in this case, x would be 5. All right, x as 5 will be the thing that will give me 0 in there. Okay, now I can also make y 0 to make this true as well. Okay, but the thing is with the zero product property is that 0 times anything will be 0. If you want 0 in your answer, you make all factors equal to 0 and you're going to get your answer. So let's look at number 1. We got 2x plus 2 times 5x minus 5 equals 0. Okay, so that's important. It already has 0 there. So how do we make it all equal to 0? We have to have this guy equal 0 and this guy equal 0. So we set factors equal to 0. 2x plus 2 equals 0. What do we need x to be so that this whole thing is going to give us 0 so that that factor will be 0? Okay, well, you subtract 2 from both sides. Okay, so we get 2x equals negative 2, and then divide by 2. So x equals negative 1. Okay, that's one answer. Now what about this one? 5x minus 5 is 0. Okay, we got to make that 0 too, because since that's multiplied, we can make either this one 0 or this one into 0. Okay, well, what does x need to be to make that equal 0? Well, 5x minus 5 is 0. We'll set it to 0, and then we'll solve it. Add 5 to both sides. 5x equals 5, divide by 5, x equals 1. So, x equals 1 or negative 1, and your answer is B right there. Okay? Now, number 2, we have negative 8n times 10n minus 1 equals 0. So again, what values of n will give us 0? We multiply here, right? So for negative 8n to equal 0, n would just need to be 0. Okay? What about this one? Could 10n minus 1 be equal to 0? Sure it can. Set it equal to 0, 10n equals 1, and divide both sides by 10, and you get n equals 1/10. Okay. So 0 or 1/10 are our answers, and so that is B. Okay? Number 3, find the value of x. If necessary, round to the nearest tenth. Okay, got a triangle. These two sides are the same. This is called an isosceles right triangle. Okay? Now if you think about this, this is really half of a square. Okay? So we're taking like a square, dividing by 2. Take the area of the square, we could divide by 2 to get the area. So, okay. We've got to find the value of x. We know the area is 53 squared inches. All right. So we're going to express x in inches in this case. What's the area of a triangle? Well, the area of a triangle is half the area of the square. The area of the square is this side times this side, right? That's basically the square of the sides. So really it's going to be x squared. But well, we have to get half of that because we have half of the square. Or if you think about just the triangle, it's 1/2 times base times height. Well, in this case, the base and height are equal. So it's 1/2 times x times x. So either way you want to think about it, you're going to end up with 1/2 x squared as the expression for the area. Okay, so let's take our 1/2 x squared. Okay, that's our area, but we know it has to equal 53 because it tells us it's 53. All right, so how do you get rid of 1/2? Well, we can multiply by 2, right? Or divide by half, either way you want to do it. All right? The 2 and the 1/2 cancel here. And 53 times 2 is 106. All right? Now, since we're getting, x squared is 106, we can take the square root of both sides, and that will take and cancel this out. So we're left with x equals square root of 106. The only thing is, there's not a whole number that we can get to express the square root of 106. So this is something we can do. Where is a square root of 106? What's it between? Okay, well, I know that I can get the square root of 100, right? Square root of 100 is 10. And I also know that 11 squared is 121. So the square root of 121 is 11. Well, 106 is between, right, 100 and 121, which means the square root has to be between 10 and 11. What are my options? 7.3, 10.3, 12.4, 14.6. The only option that gives me that's between these two is 10.3, and that's B. Okay, so that's the answer. And that's it. If you have a calculator, you can just figure it out on the calculator. It's approximately 10.3. Okay, it's going to be an irrational number because there's no whole number square root for 106. Okay, number 4, solve the equation by factoring. Okay, so here we go with, I'm going to write z's like that so we don't get confused. Okay, minus 27 equals 0. Okay, so we got to factor it. We factor trinomials like this, so you had them in the last unit. Okay, we're going to get something like this to get our z squared. All right, we got to get two numbers that will multiply to get negative 27, but when you add them together, they combine to give you negative 6. So I like 3 and 9 because I can see a difference of 6 there, and it's got to be negative. One's got to be negative, one's positive. Well, which one could be negative to give me a negative 6? Which one could be negative, which one's positive? Well, if I have a minus 9 and a plus 3, that'll work. Because negative 9 plus 3 is in my negative 6, and negative 9 times positive 3 is negative 27. So I'm just fine right there. So now I can solve because this one to be 0, z would have to be negative 3. And for this to be 0, z would have to be 9. So there's my answer. And that's C. Okay, letter C. And that was number 4, by the way, on quiz 3. All right, let's move on. The next question is pretty much the same, but it's got a 3 this time, but that's not a big deal. We can deal with that. All right, minus 6 equals 0. Okay, so we got, we'll just do like this, 3z, because we need a 3z squared. And the only way to do that, since 3 is a prime number, is to have 3 and 1z. So we'll just do it like that. Now I need two numbers that are multiplied to get 6. So I could use 6 and 1. I could use 3 and 2. So I'm going to start with 3 and 2 and see what I come up with. I got to get the combined has to equal 3. But remember, I'm going to be multiplying the 3 by whatever this number is over here. So that's actually going to change the number a little bit. So I need to multiply to get negative 6. As I said here, we're going to use 2 and 3, but where can the 3 go and where can the 2 go? So that I get a positive 3 in the middle when I'm done multiplying and combining the like terms. Well, let's just go ahead and test with the 2. Okay, and then I'm going to put my negative 3 there. All right. Well, if I multiplied this out, I get 3z times 2 is going to be 6z. Okay, and then this will make negative 3z. So I'm going to get, let me just erase that just so it's not confusing. That's going to give me a positive 3z, which is exactly what I want. So this is it right here. This is my factored equation. It's the same thing. These two equal each other. If I multiplied this out, I'd get that. Okay, these are the same exact thing. Okay, so I have to set each one to 0 because I want to see where z is equal to what z will make all this equal to 0 here. Okay, so I can set that to 0 and I set that to 0. Z plus 2 is 0. That's easy. Z equals negative 2, right? That's one answer. What's my other one? 3z equals 3. Okay, well z must equal 1 then. Okay, so there I am. That would be letter A for number 5. Okay, letter A. This is number 5, by the way. Okay. Number 6, c squared minus 4c equals 0. Okay. Well, I can't really factor it the same way because it's not a trinomial, but there is something I can do. I could take a c out of both of those, like that. Okay. Well, you know, what will make that 0? 0. Okay. What will make this guy 0? C minus 4 equals 0. And so z equals positive 4. So those are my two answers. And that's C for number 6. Okay. For number 7, 6x squared minus 17x plus 13 equals 20x squared minus 32. Okay. So here I'm going to move some things around first because I got an x squared here, I got another one over here, and I've got negative 32, I have positive 13. I don't want to have to deal with all this. I want all my x squareds together. So I'm going to subtract 6x squared from both sides, and I'm also going to subtract 13 from both sides and see what I come up with. So, and then I'm going to add 17x to both sides to get 0 on this side. So I'm going to get 0 equals 20 plus 6 is going to get, 20 minus 6x squared. See, it's minus 6x squared. So I get 14x squared. And then I added 17x to both sides. And then I have these numbers here to take care of. Negative 32. I subtracted 13. And that ends up giving me negative 45. Okay, so total, I just moved things around. I didn't really start solving anything. I just moved the x squareds together, and I moved the 13 over with the 32 by subtracting it. Okay, so I get 14x squared plus 17x minus 45 equals 0. So let's kind of put this all up here to make it nicer, easier to see. So it's 14x squared plus 17x minus 45. Okay, so again, I can factor this. 14, you know, I'm going to just try 7 and 2. You know, I can also do 14 and 1. Okay, but I'm going to try 17 and 2. I need two numbers that multiply to get to 45. I could use 15 and 3. I could use 9 and 5. Okay, but I need it to combine to a 17. And I'm going to multiply 7 by whatever is over here, and I'm going to multiply 2x by what's over there. So I got to keep that in mind. So, and of course, one's going to be negative, one's going to be positive because I have a minus 45 that I'm going to get when I multiply. So I'm going to put a 5 here and a 9 there. Okay? Now, 7 times 5, that's going to give me 35. And 2 is going to multiply, the 2x is going to multiply by that 9. That's going to give me 18. Well, 35 minus 18 is 17. So that's exactly what I want. I want a minus 35x, but I want a plus 18. I want a plus 5 plus 35x because I want the 17 to be positive. And I want a minus 18x to give me the 17 in the middle. Okay? So now I've factored it, and I could set each one equal to 0. 7x minus 9 equals 0, and 2x plus 5 equals 0. Alright? And then I just solve it. 7x equals 9, just add 9 to both sides. X equals 9/7, and 2x plus 5 equals 0 is 2x equals negative 5. Divide by 2. So my two answers are 9/7 and negative 5/2, which is B. Okay, and this was number 6, by the way, number 6. Okay. No, I'm sorry, that was number 7. Excuse me, that was number 7. Okay. Next one, number 8. The area of a playground is 336 yards squared. The width of the playground is 5 yards longer than its length. So the width of the playground is 5 yards longer. So if I have, if that's the length, I'll kind of make the width just to help me out. I'm going to make the width a little longer than the length. Okay. Now, you know that area equals length times width, right? And length times width is, they tell you, 336 yards squared. Well, the width is 5 yards longer than the length. So we can actually express W in terms of L. The width is the length plus 5, right? Whatever the length is, if I add 5 to it, I'm going to get the width. Now, if I multiply these together, I'm going to get the area, which is 336. So L times, now I'm going to multiply the width. But instead of using W, I'm just going to use L plus 5 because it keeps the L together, and I can, since I know the relationship between the width and the length, I can then express the width as something with the length, a function of the length. Okay, and that's going to give me 336 if I multiply them. Okay, well, multiply those two, L times L and L times 5. Well, I get L squared plus 5L equals 336. Okay, so let's put this out there. L squared plus 5L equals 336. I can subtract 336 from both sides, and I'm left with L squared plus 5L minus 336 equals 0. Okay, and can I factor these two? Sure can. All right. Between, something that's 5 apart, I can do a little guessing. I can also look at the choices I have. I have, 21, 16. The thing is, I can eliminate A and C because the width has to be longer than the length. So A and C cannot be true. So I have 21 and 16. Well, 336, if I just kind of estimated, is, I can divide that. So, I'd get 16 and 21. 21 times 16 happens to be 336. Well, I want a positive 5, so which one will give me a positive 5? Well, I could have negative 16 and a positive 21. That will give me the difference of 5 in the middle. It'll be positive, and when I multiply, I still get a negative 336. So, where does this equal 0? Well, L can either be negative 21 or it could be positive 16. Okay, well, here's a question. Can the length be negative 21 yards? No, it cannot. We can't have a negative length. We can't have negative distance. This is a real playground we're working with, and we need a positive value. So we lose the 21 because it doesn't have to do with our what we're trying to find out. We keep the 16. That's the length of our playground. Okay, once we have the length of the playground, we can find the width. Why? Well, we can add 5 to it. 16 plus 5. Okay, 16 plus 5 is 21. So the width is 21, the length is 16. So our answer is D. I'm sorry, yeah, the width is 21, length is 16. So the answer is D for number 8. D. Okay. Number 9, John's solution to the equation is shown below, and which property did he use for step 2? So step 2 looks like x, you have, x plus 2, and then x plus 3 equals 0. So in his step 2, he has x plus 2 equals 0, x plus 3 equals 0. Okay, so what was that step? What did he use in that step? How come he went from here to here? Well, these are multiplied. So if any one of these is 0, the whole thing is going to be 0. So he sets them to 0. So he uses 0 property of multiplication, which is B. And number 10, if x squared is added to x, the sum is 42, which the following could be a value of x. So you just have that. You can rewrite this as x squared plus x minus 42 equals 0. Then you can factor it. This is 1. So 2 factors of 42 that, the difference is 1 is 6 and 7. So I got to have a minus, negative and positive, right? Because I have to multiply negative 42. Well, my middle term is a positive 1. So the bigger number has to be positive. So I'm going to have a positive 7 and negative 6. So x, and that equals 0. So x, if x minus 6 equals 0, then x is 6, and x plus 7 is 0. That means x is negative 7. So my answer is A, because it's the only one that it's given in the choices. So negative 7 is one of the answers for x, and that's all you have to do. What are solutions for the quadratic equation x squared plus 6x equals 16? Well, it's the same kind of thing. It's x squared plus 6x minus 16 equals 0, right? You just subtract 16 from both sides. So x, you're going to take x. You're going to do x here and x there. Okay. So again, two numbers that multiply to get 16, add to get positive 6, and they have to have different signs. So one's going to be positive, one's negative. Okay, they combine to give positive 6. Well, 8 and 2 multiply to get 16, and the difference is 6. So if I put 8 as the plus and 2 as the minus, then that'll work out because that'll give me the 6x in the middle when I multiply it out. All right, so what are my answers? Well, if I set those both to 0, x would equal 2 here, and x equals negative 8 there. So C is my answer for number 11. Okay. Now, last one. Number 12. Kevin is solving this equation by factoring. What expression could be one of his correct factors? We have 10x squared minus 25x plus 15. So we can do, since that's 10x squared, we can do 5x and 2x. And then we need two numbers that multiply to get 15, so we'll use 5 and 3, or 15 and 1 in this case. Let's try 5 and 3. Let's see, it's got to be the same signs. But we got this negative in here, so they got to both be negative. All right, so 5 times what is it going to be? 3 or 5 here, and then subtract 2 times this is going to give me 25. Okay, well, I can try, so I'm going to use 5 and 3. I'm going to try 3 here. Okay, that'll give me negative 15. 5 would have to go here. That's minus 10. Okay, that's minus 25. So in the answers, which one of these factors is in the choices? And D is the answer that they give you. So go with D, and that's the end of the quiz.